For me, it's all fine. Uh, I hope that works out for you guys.
So, well, thank you for being with us. I guess we can start the facilitation session already. So the problem that if we understand Grensverleggers just a little bit more, what I understand is it's a collaboration between Shift and House of Deep Democracy that started several years ago. Now, the House of Deep Democracy focuses, of course, on deep democracy, and Shift has like several different facilitation sessions, all merged into one to form Shift. Now, the reason why you started Grensverleggers was because hot topics in society ignite a lot of polarization. Many extreme positions decrease the space for dialogue. And the solution that you had was using deep democracy workshops, community building, and facilitation to enact a bottom-up approach that starts and ends with youth involvement and betterment. And the outcome that you wanted was personal development and facilitation skills to make the youth more like change makers. Now, the USP that we found for Grensverleggers was your attention to quality, training that impacts, and out of the three aspects, which is learning, training, and social impact, you're really good at the training and learning part. Now, your main focus was giving young people valuable tools and skills to make them undergo an experiential journey that will bring them insight, new ideas, and new perspectives to move through life. And your goal was to create social impact by stimulating dialogue between groups that don't have proper conversations anymore and giving them power to become facilitators of meaningful conversations that break black and white thinking. Um,
Correct.
what you were talking about also was the academy, which is training other organizations in the way of Grensverleggers. Since Grensverleggers is touted for paying attention to quality and making sure that their trainings are truly impactful. Now you had also another idea about alumni connection, which is working in tandem with the Grensverleggers alumni and their connections to facilitate change with customers like Groningen, for the farmers, and different municipalities where neighbors don't speak anymore. Um, is this a and then the program that you have is a 10-week program that happens 2 to 3 times a year, which is between February and October and sometimes May and June. Now you also were thinking about doing a 2-week summer program, but the problem with that is it has less quality and it will be more fast-paced, and you were really known for quality, and so that was something that you piqued your interest, but you didn't want to dive deeper into so much. Is that a fair assessment?
That's a fair assessment, and I think, yeah, fair assessment. Go for it. Continue. So we're on the right track.
Okay, okay. So the main concern that we had was when you were talking about solutions for academy and solutions for international, we found that you already had your own version of a solution. For the academy, you're already contacted by other organizations to help facilitate them and train the organizations how to do better at the jobs that they do, because you're really good at the training and the learning. And for internationally, you're already thinking of connecting with Erasmus Plus to connect with Belgium or Germany, and I think you said that in 2023 at late fall you're probably going to have it in the bag already. Is this accurate?
Mm.
So the main
That's the current strategy. Correct. Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, there's maybe a bit of a breakup with my microphone here and there, but no, that's the current strategy. We're aiming for writing the proposal to Erasmus in the next month.
Okay, okay. And was that the fair assessment for the academy? Or is it, you can
Um,
provide more context maybe?
well, the only thing I would say is that I heard in your presentation here an assumption that we are already, let's say, applying
Erasmus
the
Plus.
training part to other organizations.
Okay.
And Yeah, so the international part's correct. The academy training part to other organization that is currently not really up to speed yet. So it's more like a
It
desire
was more
than an
like an
actual
idea.
reality as such. Yeah,
Ah, okay,
exactly.
okay, okay. So one of the questions that came to mind were, if these were already your plans, where can we fit in to help you through that? Because when we were thinking of internationally, a lot of the ideas were coming up with like, oh, social media, branding, and things like that. But the avenue that you were
Hmm.
probably thinking about more was working with governments of different countries like Erasmus Plus. So there was a little bit of like, we were thinking more corporate and more marketing, and then yours was a little bit more working with governments, partnerships.
We also wanted to lean into the idea of you outsourcing and consulting uh, the
Mm.
deep democracy, how do you call it, the concept, because that is what we think would make the most profit for you to be able to fund yourselves. But the thing for me is, I'm a bit confused on the part where the Deep Democracy, House of, what's it called? The House of
Deep
Yeah, the
democracy.
House of Deep Democracy. Is that an organ of Grensverleggers, or is it a completely different organization that you're working with?
Good. All right. Well, great questions. First of all, I think starting with Erasmus, I think it's just the strategy that we know that works currently.
Mhm.
And it's just like, it will give us the first possibility to take the step abroad.
Mhm.
But I don't think it's a long-term strategy. I don't think it's a business model. It's just
Mhm.
like, it's something that we know that works for a one-off, maybe
Kind of
two-off
like the
international
NDP,
exchange.
the fund,
It,
the
it will,
NDP.
yeah, it will kick it off, but it's not necessarily a business strategy. It's not something that is, building partnership or so. The other, my point is more to say, if you have suggestions on how we can do it differently, if you
Mhm.
say you should do an international campaign, you should sell the program to youngsters with this profile in Germany. I'm just coming up with
Mhm.
something that's just
So it's
whatever
just working with different partnerships is something that you know, and it seemed like the easiest avenue forward to spread internationally.
exactly.
Okay.
So how do I see your role is to say uh, don't be limited by that by our limitation, so to
Mm-hmm.
say, because we're just doing what we know.
Okay. Yeah.
And if you would say,
Okay.
well, I think you should bring this program to the European Union in Brussels and consulting to this and this field,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a very worthwhile business model. We'd be very open to have creative new ideas because I think
But
we're just a bit stuck in our own
I was
train
very
of thought.
curious. I was very curious because it seemed like after the conversation, your main focus and your unique selling point is that you're for youth, helping the youth understand themselves better, and communicating with the youth. And with that
Yeah.
in mind, how do you then transition to more of a consultancy type thing, like the young Holden? And how do you, where they help, they help the police, they help companies, and that's a little bit further from the focus of just for the youth. Are you willing to open up to more of a consultation corporate type of thing, or how does that work?
Yeah, because I think we're good on two levels. So I think we're good on working with the youth directly,
Mm-hmm.
but we're also good at training the facilitators or people that work with you. So if you
Mm-hmm.
want to make that distinction between youth and youth workers or people working as professionals in the field with youth,
Mm-hmm.
because they are also looking at these type of resources and experiences.
Yes.
Yeah, because they just we see that in the field of youth, we see that in education, we see that in different sectors that
Yes.
work with that
The
target
social
group.
sectors, a little bit more of the
So
social
and
sectors.
that yeah, so that allows a field to open up for us to train professionals, not
Mm-hmm.
only youth, and that is, I think, a field that could be used for
Mm-hmm.
uh, consultancy. And to answer your question, Charlene, about the House of the Democracy, um, it is a separate organization
Should I move my
that
mic?
their main focus is to spread the tools and ideology of the democracy through training and projects,
Yeah.
of which one project is Grensverleggers, but they have other things as well.
Oh, okay. So you have deep democracy and then you have Grensverleggers as on top.
It's separate, they just
Yeah,
Okay.
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 yeah, and maybe just to give you one more information that might be interesting to consider is that we are at this moment considering setting up a separate organization for Grensverleggers, like a foundation or another vehicle, legal body that would in the future become its own organization. In that sense, then it would be something that would be completely not independent, but not dependent so
Yes.
much on either Shift or a House of the Democracy.
That's
But we'll still be using the same content, philosophies, and
exactly.
methods.
Yeah, that was one of the questions we had also, is because since you're a group of around 11 organizations and you have a lot of partnerships, how do you, are you willing to be able to stand alone? Is that something you can do or want to do? Because since you have your partnership, you form through a partnership, how do you then break apart from that? How do you become your own entity?
Well, yeah, it's a good question. What we see is that all of the partner organizations, they are partners because they believe in a certain philosophy, a certain idea. That the idea of Grensverleggers. And that idea is sort of held by this a small group of core organizations. That is Shift, House of the Democracy, and the third one called Dare to be Grey. And we, as sort of the core group, are considering saying, well, for a sustainable future, it should grow beyond our own smaller organizations. And if that entity would exist, all of the other organizations will continue to relate to that center, so to say. It will only change into a separate organization, which can also make different decisions then. Can decide to continue working in the Netherlands, but can also decide to then grow internationally or not, etc. Like the things that we're discussing here.
Would that give you more freedom to operate in the corporate environment? If you,
For instance, I believe so.
And I was also curious, for the NDT and for, let's say, Erasmus Plus and other government partnerships, are you allowed to work in tandem with corporations, or is it you only work with us, you can't branch out and work with the corporate?
Yeah, good question.
And do you also have the capabilities to do that? Will you spread yourself too thin if you work with Erasmus Plus and corporations or other businesses?
Yeah, so there's answers on a couple of levels. So as a organization, so to say, if we decide as an organization to work also in the corporate field next to the social field, neither of these funders have any right to say something about it. It's their own choice. What they do, what they could influence is they say, okay, but we're going to write a project, or we're in a specific project on the Grensverleggers that has certain rules and boundaries, or regulations for the specific way that funding can be used. In the case of MDT, they're actually quite excited to have connections with other sectors. So they're really looking at how do you cooperate with schools, gemeente, municipalities, and business. So they're up for it. The ones in Erasmus are more focused. They really want to see that their social investment goes to social
I see.
outcomes,
they're more,
they
I
don't
wouldn't say
care about it.
selfish, but they want it more like if you work with them, you work with them only type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. But that's fine if you just within the project just keep your specific focus, and the way that you spend the money and everything just sticks to that specific target that you write the project for. No problem. And I think the
Ah,
third level of your question is, would it be smart from a team perspective? Like
yes.
I think you were saying something like, "Are you wearing thin?" Right?
Are you gonna spread
Which would
yourself too
be
thin
my
because you're
translation
doing
would
too many
be,
things?
yeah, exactly. Are you going to be holding 15 plates and doing a
Yeah,
little bit of
yeah,
that,
you're
a
a
little bit of
juggler.
that, and at the end doing nothing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my perspective would be, if we are going to step into it, we should have one person or maybe two people fully dedicated to stepping into that sector,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Do you have
for
that?
instance. But I would love to hear your advice on it as well. Currently, we don't have any that type of dedication organized.
Mm-hmm.
But we are in a position to, as like I said, we are considering setting up the Grensverleggers Foundation, which just opens up to, okay, so what is our strategy for the next years, and who are the people? So if we say, hey, this is going to be a primary target to focus on, it means that we have to find or create space for a person to focus on it.
Okay.
What does your current availability of how many people do you have that are available at the moment?
Like your team
Your
size.
team, yeah.
So we have 5 people who are in the coordination team. Uh, None of us is doing this full time, but we're quite dedicated to the project.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a whole circle of uh, uh, freelance facilitators, trainers, and coaches that we contract per project. So a project or a Grensverleggers program,
Mm-hmm.
and that and we have various roles that have a part-time contribution. So we have
Mm.
one organization dedicated to measuring impact, another one dedicated to youth involvement and an ambassadors network, and another one for the youth media team. So to improve the communication in a participatory way, because we don't want, especially communication is very sensitive with youth. Like you don't want to be the 40-plus-year guy that tells to youth how to
How to,
join. No,
yeah, how
youth
to,
should
that your
invite each
problems
other.
are just, yeah,
That's
more
just
just,
communication style. And the
yeah.
last, so we have these subgroups with I can create like a, how do you call it, organogram. I don't know if that's the correct word, but how the field works. But that's a bit how we're organized with. I
Mm.
would say 5 people really, five six
So,
people
so
quite
a lot of part-time
focusedly
people,
dedicated.
a lot of freelancers at the
And
moment.
a quite circle of freelancers. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And maybe the future should be that we put all this spread out time together to 2 people full time. Could
Mm-hmm.
be.
Hmm. If I may ask, like in a branding perspective, is Friends for Leckers distinct enough from its
Mm.
partners where it can stand alone? And are your programs distinct enough where, oh, this is Friends for Leckers, oh, this is Deep Democracy, oh, this is Shift, so you can kind of distinguish yourself in it?
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
said,
I'm
and
not concerned with that.
okay, and you can break away from, theoretically tomorrow, you could break away from your partnership and you could still run on your own 2 feet. Like you're not going to be stumbling. You guys are
Yeah,
set. Okay,
yeah,
okay, that's good. That's good.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We will be needing the partners, but their role is also different. Like their role as partners is all to bring in participants from
Mm,
their.
it's not the training program.
No, exactly.
Mm,
They don't. Uh, uh, we are trying to get them in, right? Like, so what they're offering is participants, youngsters, communication. So let's say recruitment, and when they recruit their participants to the core program,
yes.
they also organize a coach, but very making it very black and white. We can also find other partners, or we can
So
organize it also in a different
you
way.
use them for acquisitions to get more leads, to get more people into the program. It's not like you need them to write down the program and you need help with understanding what you guys are going to teach and get your
We love their
facilitation method.
wisdom. We involve them for their feedback, and we believe in the power of collective wisdom. They probably, it makes a difference to hear how are they running, how would they run it, or what works in in Limburg, which is a different
Yeah.
cultural environment than in the Randstad. But it's not like that makes that the program cannot run without them. No, we
Yeah.
can do it without them.
Because you also mentioned that Deep Democracy already works with businesses. They have level 1, level 2, level 3, but they work more in the business
Yeah.
section. And you said if you do corporate, you might have a little bit of an internal conflict. But you said maybe since you're distinct enough, you can work in the social sector.
Mm, mm.
Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good point. I believe so. I do think because I'm not officially from House of Democracy. It would be a good question to ask to my colleague. I could connect you to him. But what I do see is that what makes Grensverleggers different from deep democracy in the traditional sense is that it's applied in the social field. What right now happens, if you look at the deep democracy traditional format, it's really focused on applying it in teams and in organizations, but not so much in either schools, community centers, like really taking it out of the office and internal context.
Yes.
What's the number of facilitators that you have to outsource to, let's say, companies or other organizations?
Grensverleggers facilitators, you're saying?
Yeah.
We right now work with, let me see quickly, we have 6, let's say, senior trainer facilitators. We have now about 10 co-facilitators we can count on, and we have quite a bunch of coaches and alumni that we believe have the future of becoming more involved.
Okay, that's a good number. And
So we have a reasonable amount of people. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you also have a group of people solely focused on your branding, your marketing, your social media presence, or is it more?
Anyone can help.
Yeah.
We have one person officially in the coordination team with the role of being head of communications, let's say. So Jordi, he manages the website, newsletters, social media, stuff like that. Like the branding, look and feel, colors, etc. From the last round onwards, we have decided to set up a youth media team, which means that there's one person. I think Jana knows her, Samila. She's the head of that media team in the sense that every round she chooses 2 young participants to be part of that team that especially focus on pictures, video, and social media. So we have like a small on-the-ground team every round.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. I think that with the information.
And there's a lot of room for improvement.
I have one more question, because you said you were gonna maybe be an organization, but would you then still be open to the idea of like the people that want to participate in the camp, with them paying for it?
Could you repeat that? I think so, yes, but can you repeat it? Just checking if I understand correct.
Are you open to the idea that maybe in the future, like I joined the camp, but then now I have to pay if I want to join?
Yeah, so you mean like a participant would not be participating for free, but would
Yeah.
pay 200, 500, whatever. Yes, I think it's definitely a model to explore.
Okay.
Because our collective vision or understanding also is that if people pay for it rather than just do it for free, get a volunteer allowance, it will increase their commitment. It will decrease probably the amount of participants because not everybody can pay, but it will increase the quality. So it's a choice, and it's something to consider perhaps within, but also outside of the MDT structure, because our biggest challenge with MDT is that you have to write a plan, you have to give numbers, and you're kind of, let's say, pushed to deliver an X amount of participants. But the reality sometimes it goes up and down. But you're constantly with these numbers in the background. Oh, we need to have 80 students. We need to have 50. So what you do then is that you, not, I'm going to exaggerate here, but you become desperate for participants. And so you don't want to create extra barriers, and money can be a barrier. So that's why we still stick to making it something that is accessible financially. But for the future, it might not be the way forward.
Because if not, you think there would be a lot less participants to a point where it would be hard to sustain the program?
That is, that would be currently our belief, but maybe it's a limiting belief.
True. Okay.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah,
you be willing
because
to
the funding
change
of
your
MDT
name?
is quite big, so that's why we can now continue constructing based on that funding, but we also want to become less dependent on it. So it's like a transition.
Yeah.
If you become your own organization, would you be willing to change your name if you want to go international?
Yeah, we definitely want to change our branding, absolutely, because Grensverleggers is a terrible name for any non-Dutch
I
speaking,
can't even spell it.
country. No, exactly. So definitely, I'm not sure if we're going to change the name of the organization because that's a registration issue. But if you're looking at
But for the
communication
website, yeah.
and definitely, we have already been speaking about it, that we want to do it, but we just haven't made the time for it.
Okay. What do you feel like in the either short term or currently? What are the biggest setbacks or boundaries that you face as an organization? Is it really just this planning stage, or is it other things, the funding? What?
My question back would be setbacks towards what?
Yeah, it's hard for me to ask because I'm only seeing it from like an outside perspective. But you said with the program you're not having a problem. For the participants, if you were to make it, it might lessen, but that's a limiting belief. If you were to work with other organizations, that's not a problem at all. If you were to, another thing would probably be branding. That's probably a limiting thing, but it's not really gonna affect you unless you change it. Yeah, I'm really curious. Like, there's so many aspects. Like, there's a social media aspect. Like, there's this YouTube account called Jubilee where they have you know the name? Middle ground, where it seems like, if Grensverleggers did do a little bit more social media content, that would be an avenue that you could look into where people, stand at different opposing sides and then they have really meaningful conversations. Have you heard of Middle Ground?
No, but it sounds very interesting.
It's really,
and I get an idea already. Okay.
Really nice content. So that's one avenue. Another thing is the consultancy, where it's like you either get the academy or you get the alumni to help, or you work directly with corporations kind of like Young Howden, or you just focus heavily on the program and do better marketing and then do more 10 weeks or adjust the time frame to make it work. Which among those three, or among those two main ones, which is like the corporate and the program, do you lean towards one more, or do you have worries about one more? What are your thoughts?
Good question. So social media, I hear. Just checking if consultancy and quality of program.
Yeah.
These three elements, right?
Yeah.
Also as avenues of expanding business. I honestly think that the biggest limitation right now is time and decision making. So we just need to make a choice and go for it, and invest the time. And I think why we do not have time is because the existing project and program demands a lot of time. So we need to find a way actually to find either more time or another person, or just create something that allows for a new idea to gain traction by focusing. So that means that, yeah, either me or one of the other colleagues or a third person should get the resources, time, and focus to just grab this and run with it. I think that's actually what's holding us back right now. We're too focused on the existing program and existing focuses and results.
Yes.
Because my experience is setting up a consultancy is a big effort. So it needs somebody to really dive into it. Quality of program, I think we are right now focusing mostly on that. We have now 2 people constantly working on improvement of program, and that part is happening.
Okay.
I think so. Looking at the 3 options in terms of priority, or not necessarily priority, what right now is already happening is the quality of program, because we believe that if that is really powerful, it's easier to also replicate it. If the core is weak, there's nothing to build on. So this program quality is essence.
Nice.
We're already working on that. The social media has potential, but I think it's a good question. I'm not sure. I'll reflect on what is needed there, or what.
Yes.
Or
and then lastly, I guess,
and the third one. Yeah, and I do see a lot of potential, but I think the question is time and investment.
Yes.
At this moment.
Well, Neil, this was a really nice conversation. We have to run very soon. Maybe I can say like one last closing word and something like that. I guess the last thing I would say is, if you had a vision for Grensverleggers, what would that look like? What's your vision? Ideal, like your best.
Yeah. Well, the initial vision was always, but I think there's two sides to the vision. The first vision is that this contributes to educating a new generation of facilitators of transformative conversations.
Sorry?
Or should I repeat?
Yeah.
So the first vision is that this contributes to building a new generation of youth that that facilitate transformative conversations.
Yes.
Because that's what's needed on one side. The other thing is that we contribute to training a new generation of professionals that have different skills that are needed to break through the deadlocks that we have in society. So
those 2 aspects.
That's just the 2 aspects, yeah. And we've been focusing on one, and I think we have a lot of potential to develop number 2.
Okay. Well, I'd love to set up another conversation maybe next week, or maybe this could be probably the last conversation we have. I don't think I have any more questions. Do you have any more questions?
I think we have to.
If you have any more, please feel free to also share them on email or WhatsApp or stuff like that. Don't worry about it.
I do agree with Josh that if it's possible and when we have a plan, we can talk again.
Yeah.
Or we can write like an overview.
Yeah.
Please do.
Because after we had a conversation, I got the transcript and then I made notes, and then I can share that with you too. And after this conversation, I'll make some notes too, and I'd love to keep in touch.
Yeah. No, please. Just one suggestion, because it's interesting. I think there are 3 groups or that are working with Grensverleggers, and I think your group has been the most active in this type of dialogue, and I think it's the most fruitful, most useful, because it's very hard to grasp everything, and it's also not something that's very clear like this. No, it's like a dialogue. So please feel free to ask for more, ask for other people that you want to talk to, because I think you'll get a lot further by doing that. So
definitely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Neil.
Thank you for your
This was
time.
really great.
We'll talk later also and send you the feedback.
Okay. Bye.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Did you record it?
Yeah, screen. Hopefully, let's just check it out.
Ja, hij is wel echt lief. He's so sweet. He really is. And we're way over time. I said 10 minutes or 45 minutes.
Yeah, but I said to Runa.
No.
Because I said to Runa like an hour. She said 20 minutes. I said an hour. Yeah, but he said that I'm gonna leave.
Why?
Hey guys, look.
No! Creep!
Where are you talking to?
Hey, look. It's recorded.
Oh yeah, I see it. High five.
So now we
I
have-
think we should definitely set up another call.
Yeah.
And I think we should do what we